I now call the Iberia Parish Council meeting to order for December 6, 2023. The current time now is 6:02. We'll have the prayer led by Councilmember Michael Landry and the pledge led by Councilmember Mathurin. Councilmember Landry.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Lord, grant us some knowledge. Grant us wisdom. Help us to help the public. With that, I want to say one Hail Mary. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Amen. Councilman Mathurin.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Madam Clerk, please initiate the roll call.
Francis Pollard, Michael Landry, Marcus Broussard, Lloyd Brown, Warren Gotchison,
Here.
Natalie Broussard, Paul Landry, James Trahan, Scott Ronsonet, Eugene Olivier, Brian Napier, Lady Fontenette Brown, Scott Saunier, and Chad Mathurin.
We have 11 members in a quorum. Going into council member announcements before we start, members, we do have a message from the clerk.
I would like to make a special announcement.
Take the mic, baby.
I would like to make a special announcement of a new employee that is going to start on Friday, December 8th, and she is present this afternoon. And if she would please stand, I would like to introduce our new employee as Ms. Deidre Chambers.
Can I start crying
Look
now?
forward to working with you.
We're very excited, Ms. D, that you're joining us on this side. And remember, it's just a wall, but we all work together.
Don't worry about it.
That's right.
All right, thank you. That message from the clerk was sponsored by Chevrolet. No, I'm just joking. All right, members, council member announcements. At this time, any members of the council want to address? Seeing I have a request by Councilmember Landry. Councilman Landry? Paul Landry? He knows who.
I just want
two
to
of you.
remind the council and the public on the TV that we're going to be going out for a road tax, April, I think it's 27th. It's going to be basically for road development and for maintenance. So, we get the official notice out, and then we'll also be having the four big millages of library and health unit, public buildings, and drainage. That'll all be up for re-election next year. A little earlier, I was with Mr. Richard, and we were talking about some things over there in Timberstone and stuff like that. On the next meeting, I'm gonna try to put a thing again in there for us to start developing and looking at taking a couple dollars out of the drainage fund to I'd like to see it get ahead of it, taking T-Bayou and basically chopping the big part off and letting the water flow back into town and taking the drainage that takes it to the bayou. I think Mr. Richard wanted to kind of wait for, for some studies St. Mary was doing, but now it knows, and Ben Longline said he thinks it's a good idea. There's about a 12 or 16 foot drop from T-Bayou down to the bayou, so there's gonna be flow. If we keep, which we want to, take Timberstone and all these areas developing, Scott has areas, and we're gonna send that water into T-Bayou, you got about a 1.5 foot drop from the beginning all the way to Lake Falls Point. So I'd like to see if this council could actually get ahead of some flooding issues before there. And, Dustin, I don't think he's here tonight, he sent me some pictures of Evergreen over there in James's area that it was all flooded, because all this water's coming all down the different parts of T-Bayou, and what we're putting in just sits there and it overflows. And we had a dentist office, that it gets so bad they couldn't flush the toilets and things like that. So I think that would be something I'd like to see y'all get ahead of in the future, just taking care of some of these. I think it'd be a simple project. So That's it for me, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Landry. I appreciate your passion and you're willing to work with the council. Councilman Landry, the other Landry?
Just to piggyback on the Paul Landry, the road tax. I've been getting more phone calls lately in my district, and just on 2 or 3 streets. I know the city just passed one, and I think we have more people in the city complain about what the parish gonna do, and they don't have to worry about it. I do believe, and I hope these new councilmen are here tonight. We going through a budget, but our roads are in deplorable condition. We bring in a lot of new businesses in, and I don't know what people gonna think when they come into this parish. So we need to look big on this, and this is something I want to see. I'm glad Paul brought it up. So thank y'all.
Councilmember Landry yields back. Let the record reflect that Councilmember Saunier is ready for voting. Moving on to parish president announcements. Mr. Reshort.
Before I get started, I just want to tell Dee we're going to miss you, but you're not going that far, believe me. So we're going to continue to utilize you with the things that you helped us with, and I really appreciate, Mr. Chairman, you and all of the other council members talking about how we work together, because we really do, and we want to continue that. Parish President report, we've begun the construction of phase of our parish-wide lift station generator project. The water sector grant funded project will add an additional 16 permanent and portable generators to aid our lift station during power outages. This is a 200-day project. We expect the completion to be done by the end of April of this time next hurricane, before the hurricane season next year. That's really and truthfully what we're trying to accomplish. At the completion of this project, all primary and secondary lift stations will have a backup generator, and that's very big for us in Iberia Parish, for those of you not aware of how that works. The bid opening for the replacement of the courtroom cooling tower will be held here on Tuesday in the chambers, December the 12th at 10 o'clock. That's, you're familiar, I guess all of you are familiar with what's going on with the cooling tower. This is something that we've been putting off for the last several years, and we're at a point right now where we just can't wait any longer. The bid opening for the replacement of Vita Shaw Bridge will be held on January the 16th at 10 o'clock right here in the chambers. And I notice how you're looking at me right there, Scott, so that's your baby. So we're rolling with it. The bid opening for the replacement of Labe Road Bridge will be held on January the 30th at 10 o'clock here in the council chambers. That's another big one for us here in Iberia Parish. Notice to proceed date of January the 2nd has been set for the contractor to begin the work on Mullins Road Bridge, James. The delay was due to the lead time required to obtain some new timber. That will, that's going to be used on that particular project. So the bridges and the roads that we talked about this year, we're finally getting to address those. Problems with the hot water supply at the jail have created several issues. I don't know if all of you are aware that we have a little issue going on at the jail right now, but I want you to know it's a hot water issue. We have an engineering firm that's evaluated the situation, and a temporary solution was installed last week. The engineering company have provided us with an estimated cost of $307,000 for a permanent repair. We have to discuss this and decide how we're going to fund this project as soon as possible due to the urgency of this nature. It's bad, $307,000, but you might remember when we started back in 2016, if we would have got hit with this, we would have been toast. Oh, yeah. Toast. It would have been serious cold water. So right now, you're going to see a little bit how much money you have in your general fund, which is we're able to handle this, but we have to handle this. So when I get information back on when we can get that project started, I'll come back to the council and let you guys know what's happening. Quotes have been obtained and contractors have been awarded to stripe several road projects throughout the parish. This, coupled with the roads recently completed by DOTD, will make significant safety improvements for the drivers on our parish roads. Now, you have to understand, we're doing some striping on some roads that need to be overlaid. It's really a bad situation. But we have to stripe these roads, even though the roads need to be overlaid, because people can't see where they're going.
Right.
So we're in a catch-22, you know, some people are gonna probably call you and say, I can't believe you're wasting this money to stripe a road when the road needs to be overlaid. But at the end of the day, at least you're gonna be able to see where your
Yeah.
road is.
No,
And so that's a big deal for us. And that's gonna be around $100,000, just so you guys know, to get all of those roads striped. I don't have a list of the roads right here, but it's several roads. I'm thinking it's somewhere around 13, 16 roads, 14? Well, it's close, almost in the middle. 14 roads. Litter abatement on December the 2nd, we had 53 bags of trash that was picked up, tires and chairs and everything else you can think about that people throwing around in our parish. That was actually done on Grand Prairie Road and Washington Street. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to skip the Public Works report today because I know we have a lot going on with budget, so I'm going to end my report right here, sir. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the parish president at this time, members? Seeing none come up on the screen. Moving on to public comments. I need a motion to go into public comments. I have that motion by Councilman Olivier, second by Councilman Michael Landry. Vote your machines on public comments, members. Councilman Brown. And let the record reflect that Lady Brown is ready for voting. That motion carries unanimously. We're now into public comments. Number one, comments from the general public on agenda items. We did not receive any. Did anybody not have an opportunity to get a card? Seeing no requests, I need a motion to go back into regular session. I have that request by Councilman Rawson, second by Councilman Olivier. Vote your machines, members, to go back into regular session. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to community events and public service announcements. There is none. Reports from finance and administrative action. There is none. Reports from parish and other governmental agencies. There is none. Public Works report. There is none. Special business. There is none. Consent agenda items for public hearing and adoption. Madam Clerk.
Regular meeting of November 8, 2023. Regular meeting of November 15, 2023.
Do I have a motion to open the consent agenda item? I have that motion by Councilman Napier, second by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Napier on discussion?
Wait.
Councilman Olivier. Hearing no discussion, is there anyone at this time would like to remove a consent agenda item? Mr. Landry, I see you smiling.
I was thinking about pulling November 14th.
We can do that. Seeing no requests, members, please vote your machines on final adoption of the consent agenda items.
That was your birthday, huh?
Councilman Napier, Councilman Trahone, Councilman Napier.
I'm sorry, I thought I did.
That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to ordinances introduced for public hearing and adoption. We have summary number 5257 introduced by the parish president. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 general fund budget of revenues and expenditures.
Members, before we get started, we do have several amendments in that fund. Just to remind you of our rules, we can take 5 amendments at a time. I ask you to, on a motion to suspend our own rules. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules? Have a motion by Councilman Napier, second by Councilman Trahone. Vote your machines on suspension of rules, members. Councilman Landry, Michael Landry. That motion carries. Our rules are suspended. I'll need a motion to open up the main motion. Have a motion by Councilman Trahone, second by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Trahone, discussion. Before we get started on the amendments, we're going to give each line item that we go through, the administration will propose those, we'll take those, and then we'll start on the ones that each of our members have.
Okay.
Okay. Kim, if you want to go ahead, if y'all have any amendments.
Sure. So at each of your places, I've placed a sheet of paper earlier amending certain funds. So in general fund, the first line item, we have a correction to the parochial line item in the legislative function. We had over-calculated that amount. The next 4 adjustments is to account for the adjustment in the parish president's salary. That's in accordance with the charter, which averages the clerk, the sheriff, and the assessor's salaries. So we have that adjustment there. The next line item is the emergency management grant. in each year, we typically have received about $30,000. This year, they're actually going to receive $66,000. So we're recognizing that additional adjustment there. And then the next two line items, you'll see a negative 97 and then a positive 97. We're reallocating the amount between the equipment account and the donated equipment account for the SHISHUP grant that we had reflected. And then after that, you'll see 6 line items being adjusted. We're recognizing, for each of those, we're recognizing federal grant ARPA dollars and the resulting transfer to the water district for each of those 3 projects that were approved. So the water sector grant gave the water district $5 million. Parish Council put up $1,650,000 of the ARPA dollars. So this is the $1,650,000 and how it's going to be allocated. So you have $495,000 that's going to match the water well number 5, $608,000 that's going to match the storage tank, and $545,000 that's going to match the plant upgrades. So the total of the adjustment in general fund is actually a decrease to the deficit. And then the ending fund balance for general fund, we're looking at about $5,570,000.
Does that complete the,
For
your
general
amendments?
fund.
Okay, at this time, members, Mr. Tronhall, I see you have a motion to speak. Would you, at this time, accept the amendments from the administration? I have a motion on the floor to accept the amendments from the administration by Councilman Tronhall, second by Councilman Olivier. Is that okay with you? Councilman Tronhall, discussion on the amendment? Wave, okay. Councilman Brown, did you want to discuss the amendment from the administration?
No.
Okay. All right, members, at this time, I'm going to clear the floor. At this time, we're going to vote on just amendments presented by the administration. Is there any questions on that? Seeing none?
No amendments, no.
No, not, we do. We have amendment on the floor by the administration. We accept it for final adoption. Members, vote your machines on amendment by the administration. That motion carries. Councilwoman Broussard in opposition. All right, members, at this time, we will open the general fund floor for amendments. I do have a request by Councilman Napier on amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to amend the budget in the personal services line items for additional 2.5%, which would take from the fund balance of $49,369.
Have a motion on the floor to amend the budget on personnel services line item by 2.5% for $49,369 as stated by Napier. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Brown. Councilman Brown, any discussion on that? We on the Napier amendment at this point.
No.
You okay with the second?
Right.
Any more discussion on the Napier amendment, members? Seeing none, roll call, members. Vote your machines on amendment 1. That motion carries. At this time, is there any other motions on the floor to amend? I have one by Councilman Brown. Councilman Brown?
Yes, I want to amend the amendment number 2 for teen court line item 600066 to appropriate the $10,000 for teens.
I have a motion on the floor to reappropriate $10,000 in teen court line item 600066 by Councilman Brown. Do I have a second? I have a second by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Olivier, any discussion on the amendment?
Waive.
Hearing no other discussion on the Brown amendment, vote your machines on amendment 2, members. That motion carries unanimously. Do I have a motion on the floor for amendment? I do have one by Councilman Tronhall.
Yes, amendment number 3. I'd like to amend Iberia Parish Courtroom Display Project, new line item, appropriate $25,000 from previous year's line item, note C-Sound Communications System proposal.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Tronhall to amend. I have a second by Councilman Olivier. Is that okay? Any discussion on that? Seeing no discussion, members, we do have one by Councilman Michael Landry on discussion.
No, I'm good. I'm
You sure?
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Seeing no other motions to speak, members, vote your machines on amendment number 3.
What was the amount of the amendment?
25,000. Kim, I think the administration does have a copy.
I have a copy right here. I'll get a copy.
Councilman
Take a
Landry,
look.
Michael Landry, and Councilman Paul Landry. That motion carries unanimously. Is there anyone else on the floor to make an amendment on the general fund? Seeing none, with the amendments and the main motion, vote your machines on final adoption on 5257, members. Councilman Napier, Councilman Monterey. That motion carries.
If-
Councilwoman Broussard in opposition.
If I could say something, I want to thank you, council, for voting on what you just voted for. In particular, the 2.5% pay increase, Brian. That's a big deal. You know, I actually got some notes right here for what's taking place with cost of living. For 2023, the cost of living increase is 8.7%. And I can start going through a whole bunch of other research that I've actually looked at. I mean, when you look at the food prices came up some 3.7% just this year alone compared to previous years. Right now, across industries and occupations, the average salary increase budget has grown some 4.4%. You know, so we really need to pay attention to our employees. And all of us know that we have some businesses coming into Iberia Parish. And the businesses that we have in Iberia Parish that's coming right now is going to be paying some pretty good salaries. So we want to retain who we have here because there will be opportunities in the next several years for people to do additional things than what they're currently doing. So thank all of you, council, very much for
And
that.
I know a lot of the employees are here tonight. Let the record reflect that the administration proposed 2.5%.
Right.
And the council proposed an additional 2.5%, as we talked about during the budget process. So that's 10% in 2 years to try to
Right.
at least
And-
fight the CPI increases.
And if I can, let's correct that a little bit even more because the chairman and I even talked about the additional 2.5%.
Absolutely.
So this is something that I feel that we need for our employees. And to be honest with you, we still not where we need to be with our employee salaries.
We move it.
I do
we-
have
we're
a
getting
personal
there.
privilege by Councilman Napier on the floor.
So Larry, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad you brought that up because, look, we all know, and the ones, some of the employees that's been here when we first came
Right.
in, there were times when
We didn't have it.
myself and several other members
We didn't have it.
voted against it, against even a 2.5%. But it wasn't that we felt that it wasn't deserved. It was because we were
didn't
trying
have
to
it.
find our
Right.
way, and we were in a pickle. We in a better situation now with the administration, with the council. So we trying to get there to where, you know, you're getting paid what you're worth.
Right.
And with all of these companies coming in, believe me, I run my own business. Some of us up here do, and we know that these businesses are going to come looking for local labor, and we want to
wanna
keep
maintain what we
our
have.
people here.
Right.
So you know,
Thank you.
thank you, Larry, for
Thank you.
for what you did, and the rest of the council to bring it, to try to start bringing that pay up. So thank to all of y'all out there that do the work every day. Thank y'all.
We, all right, go ahead. And I got a couple of more personal privileges after that.
Okay. And if I can, when you're looking at teen court, this is something that's really working out. And I want to make sure that, you know, I try to keep you all involved as much as I can with what's going on here. I think you're using your money wisely to do what we're doing right there. And as far as what's taking place with the $25,000, James, is critical because we just spent in courtroom A some $600,000+ getting that courtroom to the way it need to be. And we need these monitors in there. We need the monitors for when the juror is actually looking at is participating. They need the monitors, the big screen monitors. Natalie, you use that courtroom, so you know what, yeah. So this is something that I feel that we really need in that particular courtroom. And I will be going back to you guys. I can't do it this year in the budget, but I will be going back to you to try to come up with some additional dollars to do courtroom B and courtroom C. Because those areas need to be addressed as well.
Good.
Okay, thank
I
you.
do have Councilman Olivier on personal privilege.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the council for approving the 2.5% addition to what's already in there in the budget. Our employees does a fantastic job for this parish, and I think they should be rewarded for their services. And let's not forget the opportunity we're having later this year, next year, as a matter of fact, when insurance come up for renewal again, you know, so we can have another opportunity maybe to make sure our employees are well taken care of when it comes to the insurance premiums. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no further requests on personal privileges, we move on to summary number 5258 by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024-60 JDC Juror Witness Fees Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
Do I have a motion? We have a motion by Councilman Michael Landry, second by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Landry on discussion? Councilman Olivier on discussion. At this time, members, are there any amendments on the floor for this fund? Yeah, you do. Strong. Oh, will do. Seeing none, okay. Seeing no amendments on the floor, vote your machines on final adoption for 5258. Councilman Napier, Councilman Landry and Landry, Landry Brothers. And that motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5259, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Road District Number 10 Maintenance Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
I have a motion by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Rawson. Councilman Brown on discussion?
Wait.
Councilman Rawson on discussion.
For amendments.
At this time, members, do I have any amendments on the floor? I do have a request by Councilman Trahan amendment.
Yes, amendment number 1, personal services line item, additional 2.5% fund balance difference of $8,308.
I have amendment on the floor by Trahan. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Napier. Any discussion on the amendment?
Waive.
Councilman Trahan waives. Councilman Napier waives. Any discussion, members, on the Trahan amendment? Seeing none, vote your machines on the amendment. That motion carries. Councilwoman Broussard in opposition. Back to the main motion. Is there any other amendments, members? Seeing no requests, with Amendment 1 and the main motion, vote your machines for final adoption on 5259. Councilman Trahan? That motion carries. Councilwoman Broussard in opposition. Moving on to summary number 5260, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Parish-wide Drainage Maintenance Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown. Do I have a second? Second on the floor by Councilman Michael Landry. Councilman Brown on discussion?
Wait.
Councilman Landry.
Wait.
Is there any amendments on the floor tonight on this fund, members? I do have a request by Councilman Trahan. State your amendment.
Yes, amendment number 1, personal services line item, additional 2.5% fund balance difference of $30,485.
I have a motion on the floor for Trahan, Amendment 1. I have a second by Councilman Napier. Councilman Napier on discussion?
Waive.
Hearing any discussion for Amendment 1, members? Seeing no discussion for Trahan amendment, vote your machines on the amendment. Councilman Napier, that motion carries. Any other amendments on the floor in this fund, members? Seeing none, vote your machines on final adoption on 5260 with the amendment. Councilman Napier. That motion carries. Councilwoman Broussard in opposition. Summary number 5261, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Public Library Board Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Napier. Councilman Brown on discussion?
Wait.
Councilman Napier.
Waive.
At this time, is the administration ready to present?
Yes, at the request of the library director, there's a door project, a door replacement project that needs to be funded at the Parkview branch. So we've included about $1,700 for engineering type architectural services and about almost $18,000 for the construction.
Okay.
So it's an additional less than $20,000, and that'll come out of fund balance.
That's complete?
Yes.
I have a motion on the floor to accept the administration amendment by Councilman Napier, second by Councilman Brown. Councilman Napier?
Waive.
Councilman Brown?
Wait.
Okay, press it again. Hold on. Let me clear the floor. Okay. Okay, members, vote your machines on the administration amendment.
Get it off.
Councilman Brown. And that motion carries. Is there any amendments on the floor tonight, members? I do have one by Councilman Napier.
So, personal service line item, additional 2.5%, which would equal a fund balance difference of $22,335.
Okay. That motion by Councilman Napier, have a second by Councilman Brown.
Wait.
Councilman Brown waives. Is there any other discussion on the Napier amendment? Seeing none, roll call vote on the amendment, members. Amendment 1. Councilman, might vote myself. Councilman Landry, Michael Landry? That motion carries. Is there any other request for amendments tonight in this fund? Seeing none, vote your machines on final adoption with amendment on 5261, members. Vote your machines. Councilman Broussard? Thank you, sir. That motion carries. Councilwoman Broussard in opposition. Moving on to summary number 5262, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Iberia Parish Fire Protection District Number 1 Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
I have a motion by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Brown.
Waive.
Councilman Olivier. At this time, is the administration ready to present amendments?
Yes, so we have 2 fire trucks that were originally appropriated in fiscal '22 that we need to carry forward to fiscal '24. So we have $457,000 on one line item and $365,000 on another. So it's additional $823,000 that's coming out of fund balance.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Kim. I have a motion to accept the administration's amendment by Councilman Napier. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Rossini. Councilman Rossini, do you have any discussion on that? Councilman Rossini waives. Councilman Saunier?
He's quicker.
The members, please vote your machines on administrative amendments. That motion carries unanimously. Now back to the main motion for final adoption on 5262 with the administration amendment. Vote your machines, members. Councilman Landry, Paul Landry? That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5263, introduced by the parish president. Madam Clerk?
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Iberia Parish Rabies Control Program Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown and a second by Councilman Landry.
I waive.
Councilman Brown waives. Councilman Landry waives. At this time, members, are there any amendments on the floor? Why is it not deleting these? Hold on one second. Apologize, members, technical difficulty. Okay. Councilman Napier on amendment.
So, personal services line items, additional 2.5%, fund balance difference of $4,615.
Have a motion on the floor to amend amendment number 1 by Napier. Have a second by Councilman Michael Landry. Councilman Landry, any discussion?
Waive.
Councilman Saunier, any discussion?
Yeah, I would, not specifically on this, but I'm gonna ask in the future that y'all really look at finding some funding for this particular program in addition to what's done now. I think that we're way behind where we need to be in regards to that service. I don't think the place wasn't designed to be what we're doing now, and we're struggling. So, but I'm just saying in the future, whatever you guys need to do, or we as a pack need to do, you guys need to do.
Okay. Any other discussion on the the Napier amendment? Hearing none, members, vote your machines on the amendment. That motion carries unanimously. Is there any other request for amendments in this fund balance? Seeing none, members, vote your machines on final adoption on 5263 with the amendment. That motion carries unanimously. Wow. Moving on to summary number 5264, introduced by the parish president. Madam Clerk?
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Iberia Parish Health Unit Maintenance Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second on the floor by Councilman Landry. Councilman Brown on discussion.
Waive.
Councilman Landry.
Waive.
At this time, is the administration ready?
Yes, the administration requests that we carry forward $119,000 of the original appropriation for the condemnation demolition of the houses across the parish. So it's $119,000, and that'll come out of prior year fund balance.
Okay. Do I have a motion on the floor to accept the amendment by the administration? I do by Councilman Trahan, a second by Councilman Brown. Councilman Trahan?
Waive.
Councilman Brown?
Waive.
All right. Members, vote your machines on the admin amendment. Councilman Napier? That motion carries unanimously. Is there any other amendments on the floor, members? I do have one by Councilman Trahon.
Yes, amendment number 1, personal services line item, additional 2.5% fund balance difference of $1,025.
Do I have a second? I have a second by Councilman Saunier. Any discussion on that, Councilman? Saunier?
No.
No discussion? Hearing no other discussion on the Amendment 1, vote your machines on the amendment, members. Councilman Matra? That motion carries unanimously. Back to the main motion with both amendments. Vote your machines on final adoption on 5264, members. Councilman Napier, Councilman Trahon, Councilwoman Broussard. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5265, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Economic Development District Number 1 Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
Do I have a motion on the floor? I do by Councilman Landry, Michael Landry. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Landry on discussion? Councilman Olivier.
Waive.
Is the administration ready to prepare amendments?
Yes, in the Economic Development District, we'd like to amend to reflect the $200,000 state award through the state treasury. We'll use that money on the Lobby Road Bridge project. And then we're carrying forward the other amounts for the Lobby Road Bridge project. So we have $5,000 in professional services, $72,000 in engineering services, and then flip the page, $825,000 in contract payments.
Okay.
The next line item is a contract payments line item, and that was established for the hangars at ARA. Y'all had done that earlier this year. It was like a $900,000 appropriation. I had expected that some of it would be spent, and nothing's been spent. So we're gonna carry forward all 900 to next year. So the total amount of the adjustment is about a $900,000 adjustment to fund balance.
Okay. Do I have a motion on the floor to accept the amendment by the administration? I have that by Councilman Olivier and a second by Councilman Brown. Is there any discussion, members? Councilman Brown? No discussion? Vote your machines on the administrative amendment. Councilman Saunier? That motion carries unanimously. At this time, is there any amendments by the council for that fund? Seeing none, members, vote your machines on final adoption on 5266 with the amendment. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5267, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024. An ordinance adopting the
I'm sorry,
2024
5266. It's going too fast. I'm getting so excited. It's unanimous votes.
An
Okay.
ordinance adopting the 2024 solid waste sales tax fund budget of revenues and expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown. Second by Councilman Michael Landry. Councilman Brown on discussion. Councilman Landry. Let's see. Yes, we do have amendments by the administration.
So the proposed amendment for the administration is to recognize the $20,000 to do the disposal site setup that was adopted by y'all a couple meetings back with Resolution 2023-202. And then that'll come out of fund balance.
Okay. Do I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Trahon and a second by Councilman Brown to accept the administrative amendments? Any discussion, Councilman Trahon? Councilman Brown?
Waive.
Everybody's waived. Vote your machines on administrative amendments, members. That motion carries unanimously. Any motions on the floor for amendments? We do have one by Councilman Trahon.
Yes, I have personal services line item, additional 2.5% fund balance difference of $2,114.
Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Brown. Any discussion, Mr. Brown? No. Hearing no discussion, members, vote your machines on Amendment 1 by Trahon. Councilman Napier? That amendment passes unanimously. Any other amendments in this fund, members? Seeing none, final adoption on 5266 with the two amendments. Vote your machines, members, for final adoption. That motion carries. Councilwoman Broussard in opposition. Moving on to summary number 5267, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 mosquito control drainage improvement sales tax fund budget of revenues and expenditures.
Do I have a motion on the floor? I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Ralston. Councilman Brown on discussion?
Waive.
Councilman Ralston on discussion. Okay, let me make sure. Yep, state your amendment. There's no amendment by the administration. State your amendment, sir.
Amendment
for personal service line item, additional 2.5% fund balance, difference of $8,928.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Rawson to amend amendment number 1. Have a second by Councilman Brown. Councilman Brown, any discussion? Seeing no other discussion, members, vote your machines on the Rawson amendment. That motion passes unanimously. Back to the main motion. Is there any other amendments in this fund, members? Seeing none, vote your machines on final adoption on 5267 with the amendment. Vote your machines, members. Councilman Napier, Councilman Michael Landry. Councilman Landry, let the record reflect that Councilman Landry's absent at voting. That motion carries with Councilwoman Broussard in opposition. Moving on to summary number 5268, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Iberia Parish Communications District Commission Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
Do I have a motion? I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second on the floor by Councilman Rawson. Councilman Brown?
Wait.
Councilman Rawson.
Waive with amendment.
Seeing no other requests from the administration for amendment, Councilman Rawson, state your amendment.
Personal services line item, additional 2.5% with a fund balance difference of $17,419.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Rawson to amend amendment number 1, second by Councilman Brown. Councilman Brown on discussion?
Wait.
Any other discussion on the Rawson amendment? Seeing none, members, vote your machines on the amendment. Councilman Landry. Let the record reflect that Councilman Landry is absent at voting. That amendment passes unanimously. Now back to the main motion. Members, anyone at this time has a motion to amend? Seeing none, vote your machines on summary 5268, final adoption with the amendment. Go ahead. Let the record reflect that Councilman Landry is absent at voting. That motion passes unanimously with passes with Councilwoman Broussard in opposition. Moving on to summary number 5269, introduced by the parish president. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Criminal Justice Facility Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
Let the record reflect that Councilman Landry's back, ready for voting. I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Napier. Councilman Brown.
Wait.
Councilman Napier.
Wait.
At this time, does the administration has no amendments? Is there any amendments on the floor? We do have one by Councilman Napier. State your amendment, sir.
Personal services, additional 2.5, $2,191 from the fund balance.
Okay, I have a amendment by Councilman Napier. Is that okay with Councilman Brown?
Yes.
Any discussion on the amendment by Napier? Seeing none, members, vote your machines on the amendment. Councilman Michael Landry. That motion carries unanimously. Now back to the main motion. Is there anyone on another amendment? Seeing none, get ready for final adoption on 5269 with the amendment, members. Vote your machines. That motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Napier. Moving on to summary number 5270, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Iberia Parish Disaster Relief Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
Do I have a motion? I have a motion by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Michael Landry. Councilman Brown on discussion. Councilman Landry. Hearing no other discussions at this time, members, is there any motions to amend on the floor? Seeing none, vote your machines for final adoption on 5270 without amendments. Councilman Saunier. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5271, introduced by the parish president. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Public Building Maintenance Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
Have a motion on the floor by Brown, second by Rawson. Councilman Brown on discussion. Councilman Rawson. Seeing no, we do actually have an amendment by the administration. Ms. Kim?
Yes, there's one. So we have a $14,000 adjustment that we're proposing. So I sent an amendment to have a chiller repair done on the annex, at the annex location. It was approved by y'all in Resolution 2023-277. However, there won't be enough time to achieve it between now and the end of the year. So we're gonna carry that forward to next year.
Okay. I do have a motion on the floor to accept the amendment by the administration. Second, motion on the floor by Rawson, second by Brown. Councilman Rawson on discussion?
Waived.
Councilman Brown on discussion?
Wait.
Hearing none, vote your machines on the administrative amendment. That motion carries unanimously. At this time, is there any amendments on the floor? I do have one by Councilman Rosinay.
Personal service line item increase, additional 2.5% fund balance difference of $6,000.
Do I have a second? Have a second by Councilman Brown. Councilman Brown, any discussion on the amendment? Any other discussion on the amendment, members? Seeing none, vote your machines on Amendment 1 by Rosinay. Councilman Napier. That motion carries. Back to the main motion. And is there any other amendments on the floor, members? Seeing none, vote your machines on final adoption on 5271 with the two amendments. That motion carries with Councilwoman Broussard in opposition. Moving on to summary number 5272, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 opioid abatement fund budget of revenues and expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Brown on discussion?
Waive.
Councilman Olivier.
Waive.
Any other discussion, members? Any amendments, members? We do have possible amendment or discussion, Councilman Landry?
Discussion.
Go ahead.
So that the 180,000 for miscellaneous revenue, that's what we're gonna be getting every year for what,
Not necessarily every year. It could
We-
go up, it could go down, but.
We actually received some money in 2023.
Right.
Yeah,
You-
but isn't it for like 19 or 20 years?
It's 18 years.
18 years?
Yes,
Okay.
but the numbers could go up, Paul. In fact, I had a meeting today with the district attorney and parish president from San Martin Parish. And we have more companies actually being included in this here. But from the way it sounds, some of the companies that's being included in this here, we may get something this coming year from them. But it also sounds like some of these companies might go bankrupt. So I can't tell you it's going to be the same all the time.
Right. So is there a plan to,
Yes, I had a meeting today, and actually, well, I was waiting for you guys to get ready to vote, and I was going to mention, we only have certain things that we can use this particular money for.
Right.
So one of the things that's being requested right now is to use the money, and I just got a letter from the district attorney today.
Correct.
To use some of this money with the district attorney's office.
For benefits.
The thing I have to make sure is that, matter of fact, I have a board meeting tomorrow with the Police Bureau Association. And one of the things I want to ask the association is, can we use this money for what's actually being requested by the district attorney's office, myself, and Parish President Cedars. We have our opinions of what this money could be used for. But we have to make sure wherever we use this money, we use it in the right place. Because we, for example, only, we can give it to the district attorney's office to use it for whatever. If he uses it for something that's not approved, he's not in a bind. I'm in a bind.
Right.
And we're in a bind because I got to make sure that whatever I'm doing is coming back to you guys. So I have to make sure that the answer that I'm going to get before I started taking this money and using this money somewhere, I got to come back and make sure y'all are aware of what I'm doing. Now, but anyway, I think that's enough discussion on that. But
well, and I believe out of the money that we get, a percentage of it goes to the sheriff?
Not what we get. The sheriff get its own.
So he's
percentage.
getting his own.
The sheriff
okay.
get his own, about 20% of what we get or something
Okay.
like that. And he use it, I don't think he uses it for anything he wants. Ours is a little bit different.
Okay.
But he did stipulate what he's requesting. The district attorney did.
The district attorney is yeah.
Correct.
But he's not, he's requesting it from that fund, but according to the meeting that we had today, he really don't particularly care what fund it come from. He just want that amount of dollars.
He just want, yeah.
Well, if this fund can really help us.
If this fund could do it,
It'll help
it's gonna
relieve.
help us with our general fund, to be frank with you. So that's what we're looking at doing.
Councilman Landry, finish? Thank you, Councilman Landry. Seeing no other requests for amendments or discussion, vote your machines on final adoption on 5272, members. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5273, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 HUD Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Landry. Councilman
Wait.
Brown, Councilman Landry. Any other discussion? Any amendments, members? Seeing none, please vote your machines on final adoption on 5273. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5274, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Drug Court Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown,
Wait.
second on the floor by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Brown,
Wait.
Councilman Olivier. Any other discussion, members? Seeing none, any amendments? Hearing none, vote your machines on final adoption on 5274, members. Final adoption. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5275, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Recreation and Playground Fund budget of revenues and expenditures.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second on the floor by Councilman Napier. Councilman Brown on discussion. Councilman Napier on discussion.
Waive with a budget adjustment.
I do believe the administration is proposing.
Correct. The administration proposes to carry forward $311,000 for the Ward 8 roof replacement project. And that'll come out of fund balance.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to accept the administrative amendment by Councilman Napier, second by Brown. Councilman Napier, any discussion?
Waive.
Councilman Brown. Vote your machines on the administrative amendment. Councilman Landry. That motion carries unanimously. I do have a motion on the floor to make an amendment by Napier.
Personal service line items, additional 2.5%, fund balance difference of $16,165.
I have a motion on the floor by Napier to amend, second on the floor by Brown. Councilman Brown on discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, any others? Vote your machines on amendment 1 by Napier. That motion carries unanimously. At this time, members, is there any other amendments on the floor? Seeing none, vote your machines on final adoption on 5275 with the 2 amendments. Councilman Napier? Don't vote against your own amendment. That motion carries. Councilwoman Broussard in opposition. Moving on. We've seen it done before.
Davis did.
Moving on to summary number 5276, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Bond Redemption Fund budget of revenues and expenditures.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second on the floor by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Brown.
Waive.
Councilman Olivier.
Waive.
Any other discussion, members? Any amendments? Seeing none, vote your machines on final adoption on 5276. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5277, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Royalty Fund budget of revenues and expenditures.
Administration does. I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown. Second by Councilman Michael Landry. Councilman Brown on discussion. Councilman Michael Landry. I do believe we have an amendment by, this is the final one, Kim. Congratulations. All right, Ms. Segura, state it.
So the administration proposes, so the first, we actually have 2 new grants that are coming into this fund. Both are Community Water Enhancement Fund appropriations from the state, one in the amount of $75,000 and one in the amount of $95,000.
Nice.
The remainder of the adjustments are associated with the Rodair Canal project. So we're carrying forward the CPRA award of the $2.3 million. And the $193,000 of engineering fees, we're reestablishing that line item coming from GOMESA. So we adding $193,000 to that 1065, which is that project code, and we're taking it from the big balance of the GOMESA fund. So there's no adjustment to fund balance in this fund.
Good, congratulations. Now, this completes the administrative amendments
Yes,
thing?
it does.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Councilman Brown, it has a motion on the floor to accept the administrative amendments. I have a second by Councilman Olivier. Any discussion, members? Seeing none, vote your machines on the administrative amendment. That motion carries unanimously. Back to the main motion with amendment, final adoption on 5277, members. Vote your machines. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5278, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Texaco Royalty Fund budget of revenues and expenditures.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Napier. Councilman Brown.
Waive.
Councilman Napier.
Waive.
Any discussion, members? Any amendments? We do have discussion. Give me 1 second to get to you, Councilman Landry. You're way to the bottom. Councilman Landry on discussion.
Yeah, I know it's kind of too late to do anything, but I'd like to talk about this. Maybe y'all could work on it next year. I think what we should do on this, we've had $4.9 million for probably 20 years in there. You know what's coming, Warren. Get
Haven't we
ready.
tried this, Councilman Landry?
I can put in a resolution for your next meeting.
Please.
I think what we should do is start taking the interest on here, that 150, and do an 80-20, where we spend 80% of it, and we could go with any number y'all want. I think we should take the 20% and put it on top the 4.9 million, and eventually this thing will continue to grow and grow. If we tighten our belt a little bit, every year, very little bit, down the road, that thing could get to 6, 8, 10, $15 million.
You and I were on that same side of the ball back in 17, and I believe Ms. Kim was, she was correct in everything she said back then about using that for debt service in that fund at that point, at the interest, when we were collecting good money.
Right.
Kim, do you still stand by that?
Would you be willing?
So the road debt has been paid off.
Correct.
We do still have bridge debt that we are making transfers from there. Unfortunately, recently, we've had some additional expenses associated with the jail. And we have very little dedicated money in the jail fund. I think there's about 300,000. We spent about over 2 million. I think the last time I checked, it was like 2.1, but it's probably higher than that.
Right.
So we have a couple of revenue streams that we pull from health unit, public building, and the rest of it. So we have that ad valorem millage that we use. That's about $300,000. And then we use health unit money, we use public building money, and the remainder comes from royalty. And then this year, we've got some additional expenses that we've not had in the past. You'll see those on your next Wednesday's agenda, because I need more money for security, and we need more money for housing juveniles. So I don't know if those are gonna be like one-time things. We can do some calculations and see, like what a 80-20 split would come out to. I guess I'm just a little leery if we lock it, that it's gotta go, to be added to the principal, and we can't use that money to come back into,
The money you use for sweep, does that come from royalty, or is that from
No.
another fund?
the sweep money is all that, Texaco royalty money. So all of that is being invested, but like the way that the budget was
Correct.
prepared, that full interest amount is being transferred back to royalty. So in the
Correct.
event that y'all would do that in 24's budget, we'd have to recognize that not all of that's going to royalty fund, and that would lower our fund balance.
Where could we be at back then in 17 when we talked about this, when we were really making good money, which we're making good money now on investments, but
Making better, yeah, better. We
but
make
we'd
it
be
better
over,
now
well
than
over
what-
5 million.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, it was just bad. I mean, I'll be more than willing to sit down with you and support you on that again. I thought
Wait,
that
you
was.
vote with me?
Oh, absolutely. Well, you were voting with me on that because I had proposed that, but that's okay. We vote together. We,
No.
potato, tomato.
Abstain.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. Mr. Landry, will you finish?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Paul. Councilman Sonier?
Yeah, I would just throw a little caution. We do often run into things like a $300,000 hot water bill, and just there's so much unknown that goes on, and the volatility of the royalty fund to start off with is not something that you can bank on.
Right.
We don't know what our debt service is going to look like 10 years from now, so I would be cautious in taking that pot of money and doing anything else with it, because you do have to have something to fall back on. That's it.
Councilman,
And that's all I'm going to say.
Councilman Sonier yields back. Councilman Landry back on discussion.
Yeah, I agree with you, Scott, but I know that this pot of money here goes a long way toward our bond rating, and a couple years ago, I think we had a little drop in it, and I just think that if we just tighten our budgets, and I think it would continue to grow and grow and grow, and, the interest, then the money you're generating is gonna be more and stuff like that, so. And look, it's not gonna be anything that during a lot of y'all's term, you would see, but it would set something in motion that would keep it going on and on.
Councilman Landry yields back. Anyone else on discussion or amendments? Seeing none, vote your machines on final adoption on 5278 without amendments. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to 5279, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 road construction projects fund budget of revenues and expenditures.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Michael Landry. Councilman Brown on discussion?
Waive.
Councilman Landry.
Waive.
Hearing no other discussion, any amendments on the floor, members? Seeing none, please vote your machines on final adoption on 5279 without amendments. Councilman Landry, Paul Landry. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5280, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Community Development Block Grant Fund budget of revenues and expenditures.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Brown on discussion? Councilman Olivier.
Waive.
Hearing no other discussions, is there any amendments on the floor, members? Seeing none, please vote your machines on final adoption on 5280 without amendments. Councilman Olivier and Councilman Mathurin. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5281, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Sewer District Number 1 Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Rawson. Councilman Brown?
Waive.
Councilman Rawson. State your amendment.
Personal service line item, additional 2.5%, fund balance difference, $6,961.
Do I have a second? I have a second by Councilman Brown on the Rawson amendment. Is there any discussion on the amendment, members? Seeing none, vote your machines on the Rawson Amendment 1. That motion carries unanimously. Back to the main motion. Is there any discussion or any other motion to amend? Have a amendment by Councilman Olivier?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to cut the elevator repairs at the sewer district building. I don't really think it's a good idea to be renting that building out. I think we had plans a long time ago maybe to move that department somewhere else, or, you know, better location, but at this point, I don't think it's feasible for us to be renting. Government shouldn't be in the rental business to begin with.
Okay.
I don't think we should be spending that money on the elevator.
So I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Olivier, amendment number 2. Is that a second by Councilman Landry?
Yes, it is a second.
Councilman Landry, state your discussion.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, Gene. You know, I think we all learned from the RV park, we're not in the rental business, and I think we should, you know, consider moving them to the public works where, you know.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Landry. Councilman Michael Landry on the amendment.
You know, I've been playing with this one, but I do believe if we rent it, if they have some people that want to rent it, I think it all need to come back before the administration, and we need to be uniform. And if we're gonna rent that building, because I don't think A need to rent this for this and B need to rent it for something else. So that's my, and I would hope they do have someone who's gonna do it if we're gonna pay for that elevator. I'm good.
Thank you, Councilman Landry. Councilman Landry yields back. Councilman Saunier on discussion.
Yeah, look, whether we rent that building or not is irrelevant to me. We own the building, and if we don't,
That's part of parish government, Mr. Landry.
semantics. Thank you for interrupting me now. So wait,
Councilman Saunier.
my thoughts will be
Still on the
stated
floor.
first, and then you can
Paul,
talk
press
all
your
you
button
want.
if you want to talk.
At the end of the day, if we ever have an opportunity to sell it, or the sewer district, if you're gonna move them somewhere, which means that building will be vacant, I think it would be in the best interest of the sewer district and the parish to have the building in a situation where it could be put on the market so we could get the full value of it. So the other thing I'm gonna say is if we're gonna repair the hot water system at the jail, I think if the sewer district has the money, then let them repair their building so we can sell it.
Paying for it
or whatever you're
themselves.
gonna do with it.
I'm gonna put,
I'll
you know
put it back
what,
to you now.
Madam Clerk, if you can make sure that when you write the minutes that you highlight what he just said at the end, I appreciate that. That's pretty good.
Well,
Thank you.
you know I'm from Delcom. I don't think I can repeat it, so I hope you copied all that down.
Thank you, Councilman Saunier. Councilman Olivier, back on discussion?
I just like to warn the council that, you know, when you keep putting money in a building of that age, you're gonna keep putting money into it. I mean, there's gonna be one repair after the other.
Do the same.
And, I mean, you put a rental in there, you're gonna be obligated to start fixing things that you didn't expect to fix, and so forth and so on. But anyway, I just don't think, I understand that we might not have another facility for them to move in, but I think sometime in the future, they may wanna consider maybe a different facility somewhere, you know, to move into.
Councilman Olivier? Man, Councilman Landry he's not going home without a fight. I applaud you. Councilman Landry?
Well, I think if you asked everybody that's paying in that district, that if, you know, would you be willing to let us sell the building for $400,000? And the $3,000 a month that we spend on utilities, that would go away and all that would go into your, into the infrastructure and everything. You know, with this past rain, I had a couple calls, and I called Brad about it, you know, and these people were really fired up. And I just think that you have another place they could go We could move it, sell the building, save all the expenses, the insurance, the electricity, gas, all that every month. It's consolidating, and that's what we talked about when we were conservatives. I know some of it's changed, but I'm okay with that. But you like that jab? But anyway, I just think, I think it's the right thing. Eugene's right about it. We, because I can tell you what, it was 70,000 when I was there. That's 10 years ago. I can tell you that 70,000 is probably 150, plus everything else that we have to change.
Thank you, Councilman Landry, for that and the jab. Councilman Marjorie.
How much was the elevator repairs?
Well, since Paul started talking about
What did they budget?
Is it 200 something?
Well, okay.
How much was it off the?
They just put 100,000 in that repairs and maintenance line item for the elevator.
100,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I get everybody's point. It's just I've seen what Brad has done with in my district over there, and I respect his decision. If for some reason he thinks it's a good idea, I'm not sure where we don't give him an opportunity to make it right. I understand what everybody's saying, but I don't know. You start nitpicking on things like that, and you end up with a problem like the library where we got a roof that just got worse, and now it's costing us more and more. So where do you draw the line? Kick the can down the road or fix it? So I'm just kind of stuck on that.
Thank you, Mr. Marchand. Since everybody's had a round and the next two that's coming have spoke already, I'll say my piece. At this point, that's been the problem with this council for a long time. When things work good and moving in the right direction, we always nitpick. But when it came to pet peeve projects that have cost the parish in the past, we still continue to fund those, and we don't holler about those. But again, at the same time, I want to echo what Mr. Marchand said. Absolutely, Brad has done a phenomenal job, and I plan to give him that elevator for 2024. I mean, it's part of our building, and I think Mr. Sonia said it the best. If you want to have the best value in the asset, make sure that the building's operating. Because when we wanted to sell a building, we were going to lose on that building for what they were going to offer us at that time. So, and I think that building's worth a lot more today since everything, inflation and everything's went the way it's went. But again, we said our piece, and I still respect everybody. But Councilman Sonia, back to you.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say is, look, I can appreciate what y'all are saying, but I think we're confusing two issues. This is specifically about a piece of real estate, and I can tell you that I can tell you what elevators cost and how fast that goes up based on the code changes that take place on a regular basis.
Yes.
If it is the parish's wish to see that department somewhere else, then that needs to be dealt with. There's an opportunity for that to occur somewhere else. This is, again, an asset that we own, and we've seen what deferred maintenance does to our investments. I think that this is money that would be well spent that you would recoup in the future.
Yes.
So that's all.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Councilman Landry, back to you.
And I agree with you, Chad. He's doing a phenomenal job, and I think Brad's controlled by a board. I would like to see that whole department just come underneath the administration as a utilities division, but he's controlled by a board. And I think I would like to see Brad more worried about what's going on out there in the sewer and the water department than worried about a renter calling and got electrical issues and stuff like that. And they never did bring up the other thing about $3,000 a month rent. The electricity is all under one bill. So when they start using electricity up there, you know, we're not gonna get a full 3,000 or 2,500, what it is, because you'll have the electricity that the sewer department is paying for it. This is a good action that I think we should take. I've been in the building, I've been there from the very beginning when we used to go and put 5 gallons of fluid in there to just keep the elevator running for another couple weeks. So, you know, whatever we go.
Thank you, Councilman Landry. Councilman Rossini?
No, I'm just gonna agree with, the kicking the can down the road. Look at my bridge. That increased 23% in 1 year. So if it's $100 grand and we go up another 23%, just next year, we're gonna be at 123,000, and in 2 more years, you might be 160, so.
Look at the courtroom renovations.
Yeah,
Nearly
so,
double.
I mean, everything, I know we talked about CBI, but some of those numbers are fake, no offense to you. They're playing with the numbers, but this is real numbers we saw, the 23%, so I say we fix it.
Thank you, Councilman Rossini. Heels back.
If I can, I know y'all are getting ready to vote, but the discussion that we have been talking about the building, I have no problem with y'all talking about that. But I want to talk about the employee. When we're talking about Brad, and we're talking about him concentrating on this and concentrating on that, Brad is an employee that concentrates on everything. Today alone, I probably spoke to Brad 6 times. You know, so I understand that we're talking about rental and talking about that, but I want to make sure that we understand that the employees that we have working for us, and I'm not taking a hit at anyone. I'm just trying to be honest. When you're talking about your building and you're talking about whether you want to repair an elevator or don't repair an elevator, don't get it twisted with the employees. The employees that we have are working their butt off. Brad in particular, I mean, we just finished the deal today that let's talk about the building. Let's not talk about the employees.
I agree. Thank you, sir. All right, members, hearing no other discussion on the Olivier amendment, vote your machines, members.
So,
So the vote was to defund the elevator maintenance by Councilman Olivier. So a vote yes removes the line item for the elevator, a vote no keeps the money, leaves it in there. Vote your machines, members. That motion fails. You don't really want me to go and say that Councilman Landry, Olivier, and Councilwoman Broussard is in the affirmative, and in opposition is all the red, and then the little yellow one is abstained by Councilwoman Brown. That amendment fails. Back to the main motion. Any other amendments, members? Seeing none, we're gonna vote your machines on final adoption on 5281. What the, was that the Rossini amendment? Vote your machines, members. Let's see if we can pass it. Councilwoman Brown. Marcus Broussard. That motion carries. Councilwoman Broussard in opposition. Moving on to summary number 5282, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Sewer District Number 1 Port of Iberia Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, and a second on the floor by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Brown.
Waive.
Councilman Olivier.
Waive.
Hearing no other discussion, is there any amendments on the floor, members? Seeing none, vote your machines for final adoption, 5282. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5283, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Iberia Parish Airport Authority Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Michael Landry. Councilman Brown on discussion.
Waive.
Councilman Landry. Councilman Landry waives. At this time, members, are there any motions to amend? I do have one by Councilman Trahan.
Yes, amendment number 1, personal services line item, additional 2.5% fund balance difference of $10,128.
Have amendment on the floor by Councilman Trahan, amendment 1. I have a second by Councilman Brown. Any discussion, Councilman Brown, on the amendment? Seeing none, no other discussion. Vote your machines on amendment 1 by Trahan. That motion carries unanimously. Back to the main motion. Is there any other discussion on the motion to amend? Seeing any motion to amend? Seeing none, vote your machines on final adoption on 5283 with the amendment, members. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5284, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Acadiana Fairgrounds Commission Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown. Do I have a second? Second on the floor by Councilman Napier. Councilman Brown on discussion?
Waive.
Councilman Napier.
I waive with an amendment.
State your amendment.
Personal service line item, additional 2.5%, with a difference in the fund balance of $1,614.
Have a motion on the floor to amend by Councilman Napier, second by Councilman Brown. Councilman Brown, any discussion? Hearing no discussion on the motion to amend, vote your machines on amendment 1 by Napier. That motion carries unanimously. Back to the main motion. Is there any discussion or any amendment? Seeing none, vote your machines on final adoption 5284 with the amendment, members. Councilman Paul Landry. Councilwoman Brown. That motion carries unanimously with the amendment. Moving on to summary number 5285, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Waterworks District Number 3 Fund Budget of Revenues and Expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Michael Landry. Councilman Brown? Councilman Landry? At this time, is there any other discussion or amendment? I do have one by Councilman Rossini.
personal service line item, additional 2.5% fund balance difference of $6,129.
Have an amendment by Councilman Rawson. Do I have a second? Have a second by Councilman Brown. Councilman Brown, discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, any other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, vote your machines on Amendment 1 by Rawson. That motion carries unanimously. Now back to the main motion. Is there any discussion or any other amendment? Seeing none, hearing none, vote your machines on final adoption of 5285 with the amendment. Sonia? That motion carries unanimously with the amendment. Moving on to summary number 5286, introduced by the parish president. We done with these, right?
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Iberia Parish Risk Management Fund budget of revenues and expenditures.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Olivier. Councilman Brown on discussion? Councilman Olivier. Hearing any discussion? Any amendments, members? Vote your machines for final adoption on 5286. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5287, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Unemployment Compensation Fund budget of revenues and expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Brown, second by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Napier.
Wait.
Councilman Napier? Any discussion, members, on the main motion? Any amendments? Hearing none and seeing none, vote your machines on final adoption, 5287. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5288, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the 2024 Iberia Parish Non-Expendable Library Trust Fund budget of revenues and expenditures.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Napier. Councilman Brown?
Wait.
Councilman Napier?
Wait.
Any discussion, members? Any amendments? Seeing none and hearing none, vote your machines on final adoption, 5288, introduced without amendments. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to summary number 5289, introduced by the parish president.
An ordinance adopting the capital improvements budgets for 2024 through 2028.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Brown, second by Councilman Napier. Councilman Brown?
Wait.
Councilman Napier. Any discussion? Any amendments? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call, members. Vote your machines on final adoption on 5289 without amendments. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to resolutions introduced for public hearing and adoption. There is none. Ordinances introduced for publication. There is none. Just to remind the general public, our next meeting is December 13th, and that adjudicated properties are still available on our website. And as you're there, take our storm water management survey, which is located on parish government website. Councilman Landry, is that a motion to adjourn?
You got it.
Okay, and I have a second by Councilman Trahan. Vote your machines on adjournment, members.
You did a fine. You did
Please, Ms. Pat's in the house. Remind her about your ethics, Councilman Olivier and Councilwoman Broussard. Vote your machines. Councilman Rossini? All right. That motion carries unanimously.